Good morning and good afternoon, wherever you are in this beautiful world. Welcome to another SEO.com webinar. This is a part of our 2013 webinar series. Today's webinar is Social Collaboration, SEO and Content Marketing's Missing Link. My name is Doc. I am a Senior Community Manager here at SEO.com, and I will be hosting and chatting with Sarah Evans through this presentation. Just so you know, we are recording today's presentation. So sit back and enjoy the webinar. Don't worry about taking all these notes. We'll have the recording up later on this afternoon or first thing tomorrow. And we'll also have the slide deck available for you to peruse as well. We also want to let you know that you can join the conversation. We have a lot of you already chatting today inside the questions box, but also know that we love talking on social media, especially Twitter. If you want to go ahead and join the conversation, head on over to Twitter. You can tweet us at SEO.com, or you can just be tweeting comments using the hashtag SEO webinar. Or like I mentioned before, go ahead and put in your questions. We will get to them during the webinar as well, if not towards the end. So let's go ahead and get started. First, let me introduce to you today's special guest presenter. She is Sarah Evans. She's the Chief Evangelist at Tracky. Tracky is an awesome social collaborations platform, and I'm going to go ahead and let her introduce herself and talk about her business a little bit.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me. Big fan of the SEO.com team and happy to do this webinar with you all. And also a thank you to everyone for letting me reschedule. A nasty case of food poisoning hit our household last Wednesday evening, so prevented me from being here, but now we're all back and ready to go, and it just was meant to be that it was going to be today. So for the past year or so, I have been the Chief Evangelist at Tracky, which is open social collaboration, and I came to work with them because it was such an essential part of what I did and do for my business at Sevans Strategy, that it made sense for me to work with them on a more regular basis. And I'm going to explain what it is that we do and how it actually fits into your content marketing strategy, which directly impacts your SEO. I am the author of a new book called Refrain, Little Inspirations for a Larger Purpose, the mom of a toddler, wife to an awesome husband, and live in Las Vegas.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing your presentation. And, actually I just had a chat come in, and I'm sure we're going to go over this. Somebody did ask, what is content marketing? We were definitely going to be covering that during the presentation. So sit back, relax, and let's go ahead and get started. Sarah?
Great, thank you. And just as a note, if I use any words that are buzzwords and you have questions about them, I'm happy to explain them, and Doc can jump in and hold me accountable for discussing what they are. So content marketing is really everything that you produce and share online, everything from your Instagram photos to guest posts to responding to comments on articles that are written about you. So it encompasses everything that you do online, and that is directly in alignment with your SEO strategy, where you can use experts like SEO.com to execute those. I focus on the actual content that you create around your SEO goals. So at Tracky and just in life, I really believe that people become authoritative by sharing what they're getting done. So it's not enough to just talk about what you want to do, but what you're actually getting done. And as you think about content and what you share online, it's better to show your expertise versus just telling people that you're an expert. And there are many steps that go into creating this content. There's a planning component, research, and I'm going to talk about what these steps actually look like in action. So when you're planning for your content using open social collaboration, research, actually creating the content, how you share it, how you respond, how you monitor, and how you iterate, how you can change things up. And there is a track available for everyone visiting today, and I'll also send the resources to Doc for a recap post. But there's a link here at the bottom where you can find all of the resources that I'm talking about today.
Yeah, and just let everybody know, don't worry about writing those down and trying to get to those right now. In the presentation, once this gets uploaded over in SlideShare, those will all be clickable. So like I said, sit back and enjoy.
Perfect. I love this sit back and enjoy. I need to do that more. So I'm even going to sit back and enjoy.
Do it.
Talking to you guys today. So, There are 6 forms of online engagement, and I don't want to get too in-depth with these, but it helps me when I'm planning content to remember to hit all 6 of these components. So there's proactive content on your site. That's something either that you've created. There's also aggregated content, feeds that you might bring in of people that you view as experts that you'd like to share, and curated content. So it might be information that someone else wrote and you want to offer your take on it, so you include it there with a link. Reactive content on your site. Maybe that's the comments area. If you use a commenting feature like Livefire, or perhaps you have Facebook integrated comments, those are responses on your site, but also very important for engagement. Proactive on someone else's site. Maybe it's a bylined article or a guest blog post. Reactive content on someone else's site, so maybe you're responding to comments on someone else's site. And then proactive content you're sharing on social networks, and reactive content on social networks. So that could be a response on a social network, it could be a retweet, it could be some sort of comment or designation that you like or republish somebody's information. And so when I'm planning content, I divide things up into this grid, and I make sure that I'm hitting up all of those. So as an example, for number 2, reactive content on your site, it might just be assigning someone on our team to monitor comments after an important post goes up, or it's assigning someone to monitor comments on another site when someone writes about us. Or perhaps what I love to do is mobilize our entire team, so when we get an amazing media hit, arming everyone with the link, with a way that they can comment on the post, and then also including things like the writer's Twitter ID, the news outlet's Twitter ID, a hashtag that's appropriate. So arming people on our team and our customers with the information they need to take our information on the social web. But the first thing before I actually get into workflow, and I will tell you I'm a workflow junkie, and one of our my team members, Jennifer Goss, is on here, and she is the same way, so we really do truly geek out over this stuff. If it's not exciting to you, that's okay, but hopefully this does establish a need to help you work better and really utilize open social collaboration. This is an actual screenshot of my desktop from sometime in 2012. I had already been using Tracky at this time, and I just pulled up everything that I used to use before integrating open social collaboration. You can see there's a Word doc up there, my email screen, Dropbox folder, notes, my 25,000 web browsers, file folder, instant messages up there somewhere, I'm sure. It wasn't working for me. I was really inefficient with how I was trying to write things, because I was trying to research articles, write about them, send emails to people for sources, and get ideas. And just to switch and toggle between those screens was really time consuming, and then to archive, find, and access information was also really time consuming. So if this is how you're currently working, I totally empathize with you. I've been there, but there is a more efficient way to work. And this is an example of Tracky. I'm mentioning Tracky throughout, but I realized that project management and social collaboration is a very personal choice, and you want a tool that works best for you. It just so happens that I use Tracky, that's why I'm mentioning it here. It's not supposed to be an infomercial for our product, but I'm simply showing you how we utilize it because it works this way. But if you're using another platform or software that's totally cool, you can iterate, pivot, change this for what works for you. But the platform you use for project management and collaboration really does matter. And when you think about what that project management platform looks like, it should be something that allows you to collaborate really easy with team members. So you can designate people for accountability's sake, that you can move from 25 emails back and forth to a commenting thread, that you can keep your documents that you're working on saved in one place. So the platform you use matters. This is actually a screenshot of how we plan out our social media and editorial calendar. And we plan it out week by week, and I'm typically planning out 30 days in advance for content. Each week is then broken down into day. And I think the next slide has exactly what this looks like. So here you can see Wednesday, April 24th, we were writing a post called 7 Life Hacks that allow you to spend more time getting things done. If you actually clicked on that, it would pull up a link to the Google document that we were working on and collaborating, information and research that we wanted to reference, all of the screenshots for the blog posts, and any other dialogue going back between our team members. But each day lives in this 1 week overarching track, so our entire team can access this in one place. We can pre-plan everything. We can come up with our tweetable moments, our postable moments, content to share via visual sharing sites like Instagram and Pinterest, and then also what keywords that we're trying to rank for and how we're integrating those into and optimizing them as part of our content for that particular day or that particular week. This eliminates the confusion of back and forth emails, 18 different versions of Word documents saved, and that might seem like an excessive amount, but I can tell you from a content person, I have had documents that had that many revisions. Not because I'm a bad writer, of course, but because there were a lot of people working on the project at a single time. So it's really important that you think about how to streamline the content that you're producing. And another caveat, and not to freak you out, but this is just one side of our content. So this is the content that I am producing just for Tracky's blogs. If we're doing guest blog posts or byline articles, we have another track that we use for those, but they all live under our Tracky PR umbrella. You could perhaps create your own company's content marketing umbrella. You can call it whatever you want, but those 6 forms that I mentioned at the beginning all have their own hub where they live and breathe, and then I can assign team members as needed for each.
I just wanted to really quick. I mean, we have had a couple come in, a couple questions. So one person asked, "Is this going to be all about Tracky?" No, we're just talking about Tracky right now because that's who the company is that she works for. We're definitely going to be getting into more information just purely about content and collaboration. So stay tuned to Ian. And then also Haley wanted to know some other content management systems that are popular. Haley, maybe if you could refine that question and get that back to me. Are you talking more about like what websites? Is it like a content management system such as a WordPress, or are you talking more about a collaboration platform? So if you want to hit back on that, awesome. And let's just keep on going.
Sure, and we can definitely talk about more. And the caveat for all of this is that it's not about Tracky, but I'm showing you workflow, how we actually plan and have made this process more manageable. Most project management platforms are like a Word document. You open it up, it's a blank slate, and you have to create something from it. So what I'm showing you isn't anything templated. It's actually something I've invented for our team that I use for all clients that I work with. So you can pretend it doesn't have to be the Tracky platform, but I'm talking workflow here and showing you how we manage the proactive content sharing on our own site portion of content marketing.
Perfect.
So the most important thing is that it doesn't matter if you're a single author blog or you're managing multiple contributors for a blog, or you work for a large company, a small company. Social collaboration is really important. Even if at a very basic level you're only using Google Drive and a Google document within there to create content, that is a form of collaboration and really does minimize the amount of communication that has to go back and forth when you're creating content. So first of all, I want to talk about a plan. When you're creating content, whether it's reactive or proactive on your site or someone else's site, a plan is really important for your team. And it doesn't matter if you have interns or you're dealing with a really robust team of 3, 5, 10 content creators. What we've done in our team, and most importantly something that's really worked well with a lot of nonprofit organizations I've worked with, is establishing roles for people. These can change on a regular basis if people are trying to get various experience, or maybe people get bored on your team quite quickly. You can assign roles like content producer, editor, listener. I know for one particular very large nonprofit, each week someone was assigned the listener role, and that was to monitor comments online. They didn't have to create any content for that week, but they simply got to listen and assign tasks to other people, or assign people to respond to things based on what they found. And from personal experience, the most effective way to plan content is starting on a monthly scale and breaking it down backwards. And so you might have a theme for the month or for the week that you talk about that's also focused around the life cycle of your customer. For example, we're in the month of May. We know that there are a lot of college graduations going on. Mother's Day is coming up. So we're planning content weekly then that have to do around themes or life cycles during that time. And then each day has a specific topic title that we're talking about that drives home our weekly theme and then hits our monthly target. Of course, when you're coming up with your plans, your deadline. And it's not just a deadline about when something needs to be written, but building in time for content review, so someone can actually look at what you're doing, read it, review, edit. The day it should go live. And then something that many people forget, and even we have to challenge ourselves with at Tracky, are deadlines further out. So if you wrote a blog post that's considered evergreen, maybe it's a topic that isn't Mother's Day specific, but maybe it's 10 tips to helping figure out how to build better SEO. So some horrible
nice one
like that.
Well, it's off the fly, on the fly.
Yeah, sure. But we'll build out deadlines 15, 30 days in advance. We can keep repurposing that content. If you're part of a small team, it's hard to regularly produce content. So you want to find ways to repurpose or reuse it. And we won't just focus on repurposing the headline, but maybe it's a soundbite from that particular blog post that we want to share. And then we might want to set deadlines for creating visual content. We might use an app, like you can see this image here, work better, not more. It's just something I created on my phone. We might create an image like that out of a really compelling headline so that we can then pin it or share it on Instagram. And we'll build those deadlines in as well. And then building your promotional toolkit. This is kind of a one and done task, but for every client that I work with, and specifically with Tracky, we have a list of 35 promotional tactics. On average, it takes something like 5 different tactics to drive people to your website or blog before they'll finally want to check out what it is that you're doing, unless you have a really engaged community or audience. So we have 35 tactics of things that typically work on social networks to drive people to what it is you're doing. Not every blog post, not every media hit gets all 35 tactics, but we have different tiers of urgency or importance for our articles, and we'll grab 1, 2, 5, 12 of those tactics and assign them to each post that goes up. Those promotional tactics or our toolkit live in one place where people can access and copy and paste them for each individual day's post, like what I showed you at the beginning.
So curious, like when you, so just really quick though, I mean, just curious. So when you've got your promotional toolkit, you've got your deadlines. I mean, you're planning ahead all pieces of content at once? Do you typically, and it maybe depends on the type of content, but are you trying to deploy everything at one point in time, same day, or do you take like maybe 20 pieces of the content or the repurposed content and plan on spreading it out over time to breathe more life into it again later?
So in a perfect world, the second scenario that you just mentioned is the most viable. However, as many of you may feel the burn working on smaller teams or working with a startup, you only have so much bandwidth. So we'll typically execute 5 of the most viable tactics when something goes out and then schedule posts to go out later. As I said, in a perfect world, it'd be great to do maybe more of a 3 to 5 day window or a 2 to 4 day window to get something out. But because we're producing content every day, which is something quite amazing for a smaller team, we're able to really maximize new content versus having to always repurpose and give more life to less frequent posts.
Gotcha. Makes good sense. We actually another one more question coming in on Twitter. Sorry to interrupt, but DT Chicago asks, what are some of the examples of your promotional tactics in your toolkit? Do you have any, like a couple that you could share?
Free advice, yes. So it might be something like, and I don't want to get too basic, but some of you may not know these, so I'm going to go ahead and share. So we won't just tweet this as a tactic. We'll actually write out what a tweet would look like, leaving enough room for a retweet, making sure that both our headline and the tweet that we're sharing are optimized for the web with our keywords, making sure that we're including our shortened URL, any appropriate hashtag, and then doing due diligence to look up appropriate Twitter handles for any one company, brand, person that's mentioned in that piece. Because we're a startup, we know it's important to get great media hits up on AngelList. So it'll making sure that we have the same thing, that it's optimized, that we have the link, that we have found if someone that we're mentioning is on AngelList. Same thing for Google Plus and Facebook, but we want to do separate posts with different language for each of those, also making sure to tag people, and we might develop unique images for each of those social networks. Same thing for Pinterest. Is this post relevant for its own board, or do we have something that can go up on something that we've created? And then who are some of the influencers we want to pitch with this post that might be interested in it, who want to tweet it or comment on it. And then we might have some, so those were all earned tactics, things that don't cost any money. We might also, depending on the priority of the post, come up with paid tactics like Facebook promoted posts, sponsored tweets, Google ads. So that's kind of an example of what that promotional toolkit looks like. It does take a little bit of work, but you only have to fill out what you think your most viable promotional resources are one time, and then customize those for each post. Like I said, knowing hashtags, coming up with your unique URL, those sorts of things.
I think that's a great answer. Yeah, and Nancy had just asked something in the questions pane as well. Hopefully this got to your question, Nancy. You know, where you post the content. I mean, really, it's just about knowing where your audience is, and creating maybe a different experience for each audience and each site that you're posting this content to. So you might have the blog post on your site, but you might create a really cool image, maybe even something like this one that you see on the screen, the work better, not more, and you might maybe put that on one of the other sites. You might share that image on Facebook or on Google Plus, or maybe even have it on Pinterest. So it's really about just scheduling out all the different type of content that you have, and then, you know, as she's going to say, I don't want to give away the fun word that she uses here in a minute. So yeah, I almost said it, but I was going to like kill it. So go ahead.
I was gonna hang up if you said it. You know, we find, and as Zach said, I'm going to get to this more, but the visual image like you see here, we tend to get 50, 60, sometimes 70% more engagement when we share a really compelling image versus just text alone. So that promotional toolkit is really focused on tactics that we know work really well, and some of the things we've learned over time. Some of these tactics might have evolved. We thought something would work, it didn't, or it only works for a specific type of post. So I have to use strategy when we're thinking about how to best utilize those tactics. And keywords, if you're here because you're an SEO.com customer or soon to be, I mean, that's an essential piece of all of this. We're doing all of this so that we can help people find us when they're searching for what it is that we do, and all of this content drives that. Also, timing is very important when you're thinking about your plan, and there are tools that exist. If you use something like Buffer app for scheduling, there's a way to integrate and find out what times people are sharing your content the most, and then we schedule posts to go out during that time. And of course, in your plan monitoring, when a new post goes live on a daily basis, on a regular basis, just monitoring what people are saying, looking at comments even if you can't respond to them all, and just being aware of what's being said on social media. Excellent. So we talked about research. And Doc, did you have anything you wanted to jump in and say?
I just said excellent.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. When I talk about research, it can be very overwhelming, especially if this isn't your day job to produce content on a regular basis. So I wanted to give some story starter ideas as you're thinking about content. Where can you get information? How can you make research a bit easier? And I needed to share my awe moment. I just realized when I put this screenshot of my phone up here that my son and my toddler are up there. So it just made me say awe. So we're looking, I don't think I even noticed that at the time. But okay, so research. One of the easiest things you can do is Google international and national headlines and find a way to localize the story. So maybe this is a way of curating content on your site, or maybe it's an opportunity to pitch a story to a reporter. And when you're looking for ways to reach out to media, anytime you can humanize or localize a story that is breaking international and national headlines, and if you're among the first to reach them, it really is an opportunity for media. That has been one of our most viable tactics. So when you're researching, if there's a way you can keep a pulse on international and national headlines every morning, very, very important. Simply looking at holidays and observances, just knowing things like Mother's Day, Father's Day, Administrative Assistance Day, knowing that those things are coming up, you can craft content around them, especially if they align with what it is that you do. We're an open social collaboration platform, project management, so Administrative Assistance Day is a perfect fit for us. And not only can we create content around it, we know that other outlets are going to be writing about that specific topic. So if we can create valuable content around it, that's really going to do wonders for SEO for us. looking at conferences and media events. One of the beautiful things about social media is that you don't even have to attend these conferences and media events to talk about them. It's why hashtags are so valuable. When you look at someone talking about an event, you can always offer your own commentary about what you're seeing on the social web, whether that's just retweeting things on Twitter or writing a blog post or pitching an idea to the conference organizer about what you saw. But those are ways you can use research and collaborate to produce content that will result in positive SEO for you. I love to check out Google Trends to see what people are searching for, what news and information is trending. That really does help create content. I said human interest, and this is a tip I want to share with you. It will help you get news faster than, I'm going to just make up a number, but 80 to 90% of your peers. If you're familiar or not with IFTTT, it's called If This Then That. It's IFTTT.com. It's a way to put the internet to work for you. You can actually create what are called recipes. So on a very simple basic element, I can take a Google blog RSS feed, a blog that's written by the Google team on a topic that's really important to me, like I follow everything that the Google Analytics blog shares. I can take that RSS feed and I can make something happen with it. I can actually set it up so that anytime they update that blog and it goes live, I get a phone call on my phone. The phone number shows up as IFTTT, and I let it go to voicemail and listen to that voicemail, and I know that Google blog, the analytics blog, has updated their post. If you're an iPhone user or an Android user, there are different shortcuts you can do, but if you go to a website on your browser on your iPhone, you can actually click the little up arrow button and say add this feed or add this page to my home screen. I've created a newsroom bracket here of all of the most important news feeds that I follow, like the Facebook newsroom, Twitter, Apple, Tumblr, Google. All I do is click on it, I see the new article, I click on the article and I can share it out on my social networks. And I now beat almost anyone else in my space of getting this particular news out, which results in tons of retweets and posts and reporters following my feed. So I now serve as a resource. I can real time have new content to share, and it didn't take a whole lot of time to do that. So in the midst of all this more complex content development, this is a quick fix for sharing content that's important to people in my space. And then I also create lists of top-tier media influencers and bloggers that I want to follow who also share high-quality content. I might use them to simply repost their content, or I might cite them in a curated post that I'm doing, or maybe I use something like a Rebel Mouse resource where I create an RSS feed out of their particular Twitter feed, and it supplies me with ongoing awesome content without having to do additional work. So if I freaked you out there, don't worry too much. It takes a little time. Remember that I do this every day, 37 hours out of 24 hours a day. So
and I think that's one thing too. Well, I think that's one of the things. I mean, I think people tend to think that content marketing is, you have to reinvent the wheel with every single post. I think there's so much that can be done with existing information out there, or putting your spin on a great article that just came out, or like you'd mentioned, maybe even breaking a little bit of, be one of the first people socially or whatever to break some news, and become that trusted resource. So don't look at content marketing as such a huge thing. You can really break it down, and it can be something you can simplify and really make it work for you and your business.
Yeah, I mean, with everyone I work with, we look at the size of the team and how much bandwidth you have, and we break it down between curated, aggregated, and original. And depending on your bandwidth, we look at where you have time to dedicate to each of those.
I did have one quick question that came in. I'm sorry. May asks, and this would be a good one for you, and I've heard many different answers to this as well, but let's see what you have to say. Do you have to improve your writing skills to be able to be successful with content marketing?
So it depends. There's kind of a workaround. I mean, you do have to be a good writer in order to write. It is what it is. Think about the last time you read an article with poor writing and how that made you feel. But the beautiful thing is that content isn't only in written format, that we have visual content, that we have audio. If you're not a good writer but you're a really good speaker, you can use something like a SoundCloud or another audio-based site and speak your content, and then maybe write up a quick recap that helps. So you don't only have to think in terms of written, but you have to have a really strategic mind to see how it all goes together. When you're looking at several different tiers of content like that and how it gets executed, I'd say strategy is the most important. If any of you are BuzzFeed fans, there's a reason that they're so virally popular, because they really tap into and understand what content people are sharing. That it's not always about the really high-level, thought-provoking post, but sometimes it's about two cats giving a hug, and that just seems to be shared like wildfire.
Yeah, internet cats rule the internet. And I would just say add to that too. I mean, I think, May, that your content at first, it may not be to the level that you would like it to be at, but practice is what's going to make it better. So, I mean, if you think you are struggling a little bit with the written word or whatever type of content that you're working on, the more that you do it, the better that you're going to get at it. So, take that and continue to improve upon what you're doing day by day, and I think you're going to be fine.
And there are some unique ways around this too, which is why this slide is actually a perfect segue. I broke down how we plan for a typical week and what it might look like. So I made up that it's National I Heart Being an Entrepreneur Week. And so we'll look at content that supports that overall theme for the week. So May, I know your concern is, do you have to be a great writer? So you might come up with something like 15 reasons why you love being an entrepreneur. Maybe you interview 15 of your closest entrepreneur friends and have them offer a soundbite or tweet a soundbite. You could take screenshots or use something like Storify and grab the embed of those tweets, write a quick intro for those, and let other people help do some of the writing for you. They get some link in there, you get content fulfilled, and you get to practice and share content without having to write a full 800 to 1,200 word post. And then Tuesday, maybe it's a guest post from someone else. As your site or your blog tends to get better, page rank or better value, better visibility, a guest post might be a really valuable commodity for you. So again, it's not something that you're writing, someone else is contributing content to your site, but they're getting that link back to their site as kind of their link love payment for doing that. But then on Wednesday, maybe that is where you have spent the week really honing in on a very well-written piece, and it might be something like how your company helps entrepreneurs. It's more thought-provoking, a little bit longer, but it's the one well-written piece that you've produced for the week. And on Thursday, you're moving only to images. It's entrepreneurial-based images. Perhaps you've done some curating on Pinterest and you've found several boards that are curated by entrepreneurs that are really great. So it could become the top 10 entrepreneurial boards to follow on Pinterest. So again, you haven't created content. And on Friday, let's say you worked with a great research company and design firm and created an amazing infographic. Again, it's visually based, probably not a lot of written content with this. So just an example of how you can create content. It's not all heavy focus on written, but it's interspersed throughout.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it.
Waiting for the next slide. Okay, sorry. Any questions coming in, or should I?
I think I've got a couple, but I'm going to hold them off until the end. These two. Yep.
Again, not a Tracky infomercial, but I wanted to share something that is really valuable for us. If you're using any content management system, the shared calendar when you have many people contributing to content is a lifesaver. I love that I can see at a glance what we're working on each week, who's assigned to it, when it's scheduled to go live, and what the topic is. The reason it's important is because I'm a visual learner. I don't know how many of you on the call are visual learners. So just written content and looking at something in written form isn't always super valuable for me. But when I can see things, when I can drag and drop things because maybe Thursday wasn't the right day for the Search Marketing Expo post, maybe it needed to go on Tuesday. When I have that ability, it's really valuable. So regardless of Tracky or another project management or content management system, this is a really important ability to have in whatever tool it is you're working with when you're looking at social collaboration. So this is kind of redundant because I talked about some of those promotional toolkit tactics, but I wanted to share what this actually looks like for us. So we do a lot of guest posting, and in fact it's an extremely valuable tactic when you can write well thought out or thought leadership pieces on other blogs or communities that have really active audiences or communities. When we get or land a guest post, we go into share mode. We want to really show value to the person who let us share their valuable internet real estate space, and we want to make sure that we get a lot of traction out of what we did. So we will define and execute the best sharing tactics, and we actually put these into a task for our entire team to execute. So you can see here, this screenshot is just an example of what we do in Tracky, where we share a link to the post, and then we'll outline things by days, maybe the day it goes live, and then spread out over the week. And I have some tactics here. So we always do a teaser post. When we land a great post, we'll also put a teaser to that blog post on our blog. We don't repurpose the content because we don't want to get pinged or penalized in any way. But we might put an image that says, you know, cool, we've been featured on the Social Fresh blog. It's about topic XYZ. Check out the full post here. So we just want to mention it. We want to share some love. I told you how we plan out our tweets, our Facebook posts, Google+, Instagram. We assign hashtags to it, and then we also look at all of the communication tactics that we have available that are at our disposal. So we know that for any of our customers who sign up for our product, we have a newsletter blast that goes out on a regular basis. If it's a high enough priority guest post or media hit, we assign it to go out in that newsletter. We also will utilize things like Quora. It's a question-based site where you can answer things, and it has a really large built-in audience. We'll use those guest posts and keep them archived, and we might even do a search on that particular social network to see if people are asking questions that this post answers. And we'll be able to give it a little more lifespan that way. So we could say something like, interesting that you asked about this. We just wrote a guest post for Social Press that answers this topic, and we'll put the answer in the post, but then we'll also link back to that particular post. And we create a draft message that anybody on our team can copy and paste and share out. So it becomes an actual tactic for our team. We don't leave anything to chance because we really want to make sure that this is done right and done well.
Awesome.
I'm pausing just for a minute, Doc, to see if there are any questions.
Nothing at the moment. I loved what you just went over. Let's keep going.
Cool. So one of the things that we keep talking, I think this is the term, Doc, was this when you were holding back on the social visual image?
No, it was the release the Kraken. I almost posted it in there.
Kraken? Yeah. Sorry, I didn't even say it.
Yeah, and you didn't even say it. You just, now I'm hanging up.
I know. See? God,
I'm kidding.
We're done. This is horrible.
You wouldn't even get each other's jokes. Come on.
I know. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Just, I'm trying to make content creation fun. I know for most people it's not. I love this stuff. Here's an example of our social promotion tactic list, and it is really important. That's why I'm really hitting this really hard. And I wanted to give an example. This image here is something, again, I just created on my iPhone. I took a picture of my great-grandparents' rocking chair that's in my office and did some text overlay, put a funky filter over it so it looked kind of Instagram-like. And this is just an example of somebody who owned Ricky's rocking chair, how he could attach an image to anything that he's doing. He didn't even need content. He's got everything he needs on this image, a hashtag, a mention for a discount or sale, his Twitter ID, his website, and his company name. But as you're thinking about what tactics you can create to share your content, this social visual concept is so very important. As I said, it really accounts for 50 to 70% increase in sharing when we create something that's really compelling. And in fact, something that really focuses on user behaviors. It's not just announcing a 30% off coupon. Yesterday on Facebook, again, something I made from my phone, I noticed this trend. I was talking to some friends about sometimes people are frustrated with a friend or family member, and they can't tell them or they don't want to tell them because they want to avoid conflict. But they'll post a passive-aggressive message on Facebook where they know that friend or family member will see it. And it's the way that people are dealing with conflict. So I created a really funny image that essentially said that, and it got a ton of discussion, reshares, reposts. And it didn't have anything to do with my company or to do with Tracky, but yet it gave me a lot of visibility because I hit on a human behavior that people really identified with. And when you're thinking about not just in terms of visual, but when you're thinking in terms of written word for how you're going to promote something, and you can use Twitter as the measure for this, we typically try to write things that are 70 characters or less because we want to have room for a retweet, a link, a hashtag, and hopefully our company's Twitter handle in there. And that goes for both personal or corporate messages. You also, if you're going to attach an image with it, that shows up as a link, and those links take up that valuable character space. You want to make sure that you have room for those. I talked about everything else on this particular slide, so I will move on.
Moving on.
Here's an example of a post in action. I really am a social good advocate, so I have a few charities that I give my time to and will try to help them actually execute something. So I'm actually from Chicago, lived in Elgin before moving to Las Vegas, and our local crisis center there, they have all volunteers. They're all volunteer basis. They don't have anybody who does marketing, PR. So when they have really urgent needs, they come to me, something that needs to be executed on quickly. They came to me and said, Sarah, we're all out of diapers. We get people who come in regularly who just need diapers for their children. It's sad but true, and they had a diaper shortage, and they needed all different sizes. They didn't know how to just ask people for diapers. They said, should we send out a community e-blast? Do we need to go knocking door to door? Do we need to post flyers up? And I gave them 2 pieces of advice. One was to create a gift registry on Amazon and keep that link on their site. And the other was, let's create a socially shareable image along with a written message, and I'll launch it from my account since I had a built-in network for their community. So again, something I just created on my phone for free with a stock image. It had the message of what was in need, had the URL, and hashtag diaper gift. I then posted it on Facebook, where I tagged everyone in the community I know who might be interested. But then because they created their Amazon gift page, I was able to post that, and anyone across the U.S. could donate diapers, regardless of whether or not they were part of that community. And at the time, I posted this, I took the screenshot 2 hours after I posted it, already had tons of conversation, 5 shares at the time, and they had already started receiving diaper gifts. So as part of content marketing, it was nothing more than finding the right person to post the message, setting it up in the right content, and using the right tools to help alleviate an urgent need. So when you think in terms of content, I guess my point in showing you this is not to overthink it and think about what will reach people quickly and help get what you need done.
And that's very true. I mean, a lot of times, even on the content that we've created here or other content that I've created, I mean, it's like almost, the stuff that you spend so much amount of time trying to perfect is the thing that sometimes doesn't perform as well as the just off the cuff, in the moment type, like posts that you were just talking about there. So that is really interesting. One person asked, Catherine in New York, so I'm just going to ask while you are here and you were on that picture, what app is it you're using for these pictures and are for your text overlays and whatnot?
Great question. So I'm just looking at my iPhone right now, and the ones that I use the most, Phonto, P-H-O-N-T-O, and these are all iOS apps because that's what I use, so you can always check to see if they're available for Android, Windows, or any other operating system. PicFrame, Whims, W-H-I-M-S, Over.
Love Over. That's a great app.
And isn't it lovely? And then I'll use Generator. It's a meme generator app.
And we'll be sure to even put these in the show notes as well, so you guys can go find those. One more quick question. Haley also asked, what do you do when you don't have a built-in community? How do you go and make those connections to use?
So there are a few ways. Part of the reason for developing this entire social collaboration content marketing strategy is to build community inherent in what you're doing. So part of your SEO strategy is to build clients, but maybe what happens in there is that you start to build a community or an audience. I'm a PR person. I come from a pure media relations PR background, so we spend a lot of time pitching and building a pitch list or media list comprised of traditional media, bloggers, influencers, and just people within a community who are active on social media. So for example, that previous photo that I showed you really applied to the Elgin community. So I have a list of everyone who is active on Facebook in the Elgin community that I can tag. You can see over here in the comments area these CCs. These are all people that I tagged, including members of the media I'm connected to. So I kind of created a community within this post because of people that I'm connected to. I didn't have a page I could go post on where these people already lived and were actively reading. I just created a little community in this post by tagging people.
And I think it all comes down to relationships as well. So, getting out there and don't be tagging people that you don't know. Obviously on Facebook, unless you're friends, you can't do that tagging. But, get out there and get into events and get to know your local media people. So, I mean, it's just really about relationships.
Yeah, and such a great point. I do not tag people in every post. This was kind of an urgent and important issue that I knew these particular people would care about. So this isn't something I advocate for. Every time I write a post, I don't CC all these people. So that they see it. This was very intentional.
Yeah, use sparingly.
Use sparingly, yes. Much like salt.
Yes.
So I mentioned a few other tools, and I wanted to make sure that I recapped them, and of course they'll be available after. I mentioned knowing the key times to post information online, and there's a great tool called Twiriad. Funny name, great tool. And it will actually analyze your Twitter feed, and I think you can connect to a few other social networks. So it can see where you get the most engagement, and we know that on weekdays and on Saturdays and on Sundays, there are actually different times where we get the most engagement. And because we use Buffer, bufferapp.com, to schedule our posts, we have different scheduling, automated scheduling posts for Monday through Friday, a separate one for Saturday, a separate one for Sunday, so we can completely maximize when we know people actually see our content. And it's so important. If you're going to spend all of this time creating, aggregating, and curating, when you don't have any results to show for it, it can be really disheartening. And frankly, if you're reporting to someone and they're paying you to spend your time doing this, you want to show that there's value for what you're doing. So timing is really essential. And I subscribe to automating posts. I don't automate everything. I automate those things which I don't want to have to think and worry about, so I can spend time engaging and creating other content that I share manually. And for that, for our blog posts, we use Deliberate, and I use that for all clients, especially for Tracky, dlvr.it.
Let me ask you something really quick when it comes to automation. Part of me loves it, part of me despises it. I guess for me it's the sending the posts out and not being around if somebody comes back and engages with you. So what's your thought process behind that a little bit? Because, I make sure not to post anything or tweet anything or something if I know that I won't be able to get back to that person should they respond in some sort of a fashion.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
The beautiful thing is that if you remember from the first slide that I showed you, when you're in that planning stage, you assign duties and responsibilities to people. So in theory, if you've assigned roles, one of those might be listening or monitoring. So regardless if you're automating, somebody from your team is monitoring. So it doesn't matter that you've automated.
Yeah, that makes sense from the corporate standpoint, I suppose. I just feel the same way even on the business side. I mean, I do automate quite a bit of stuff from the using Buffer as well, so on a personal side. So I just always like to make sure that, I'm not posting at 2 a.m. when I'm going to be asleep and can't reply to anybody. So
sure, and if you're posting at 2 a.m. because you found that's one of your key times, perhaps you're living in the wrong time zone. I don't know.
Yeah, possibly. Might need to move there.
Yeah. And so that, I wanted to leave enough time for Q&A. No, as I said, it's very heavy, complex, very tactic-laden, but I'm happy to answer any questions. And go easy on yourself if it's your first time hearing all of these things, but this content marketing has everything to do with your SEO, and how you actually plan and execute it will determine your success of how much you can actually get done and share.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah. I want to make sure that we get back to a few of these questions because we did have a lot of good ones come in. So stick around if you ask, because most likely I'm going to get to them. So we're going to start back up towards the top here. Daniel had sent in a question asking Sarah, how important do you think video is in content marketing?
Okay, video is essential. The only reason I didn't cover it is because although we all have access to our smartphones and tablets to create video, I typically view that as more of a high-end or cost-associated tactic. But anytime you can associate video that is viewable on both mobile, desktop, and tablet, it's an amazing resource. I love using YouTube and repurposing content. Anytime I work with clients, I work with Cox Communications regularly. I was their social correspondent at this year's Consumer Electronics Show, and we had a heavy emphasis on video. It was video that was shot for both B2C and B2B and could be repurposed and embed in blog posts, sound bites and moments from that tweeted, used on Facebook, used on their internal website. So it's a very, very viable tactic. It just needs to be done either really well or be so funny that no one cares that it's grainy because it was shot on your cell phone.
Yeah, you know, and even you got great platforms, even Vine now that's coming out. I mean, heck, I mean, you got 6 seconds that, you know, you had the 140 character tweet, now you got the 6-second video, and, you know, I've seen some pretty fun stuff. I mean, you know, don't know what exactly you'll get from it yet. I haven't seen huge results, but I've had a couple buddies say this thing is going to be as bigger than Instagram. We'll see how that turns out.
Well, here's a quick tip with Vine. Because you only get the limited number of seconds, and let's say you don't have a video budget and you're really good at shooting Vines, if you tweet a link to your Vine out and then you take the embed code for that tweet, you actually can embed the Vine on your blog post. So now you've got some built-in animation or video on your post, and it took maybe 10 seconds or less.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, too. Excellent point. Let's see. I did answer that one already. Kathy had asked, when it comes back to Twitter and hashtags, how do you add a hashtag, or how do you find a hashtag to add to your tweet? I think, Kathy, the best answer is that you build your own hashtags. You know, put the pound sign in front of whatever word is, if it's something that you're marketing. I do believe there's a couple sites out there, and Sarah, you might know as well, but there's different hashtag directories, I do believe, out there. There's like different Twitter chats that go on all the time. Like ours example for here, you know, we're rocking SEO webinar at the moment. You know, there's social chats, there's SEO chats, there's all those different kind of things. But you know, I'm bad when it comes to hashtags because I'll just make something up and sometimes have it be like 25 characters long. So you know, so it is what you make it. Much like social media, I would say don't go overboard with it. But what do you think about that?
Well, I think it's finding and leveraging existing hashtags. So if you don't have a community yet and you're looking to reach more people, it is a viable tactic, assuming it's not an overused hashtag that the traffic is moving so quick nobody can see your information. Or you can create your own around what you're doing. And as a PR person, when we create those original hashtags, it's either to keep a conversation isolated in that in a specific area, like today's SEO webinar. You know, if you click on that, you'll see people from this webinar. But if you just used hashtag SEO, you'd probably miss most of the people in this chat because it's such a frequently used hashtag.
Yeah, and also just to back that up too is, I mean, if you can find one of these chats, if you find one that is interesting to you or a trend that's, I mean, you see the different trends and whatnot also on Twitter, but you know, find the people that are talking about the interests that you're interested in, and that can also be a great way for you to build your audience as well. I would say, you know, you get out there and follow the people that are talking about the same things and they're interested in the same things that you're talking in, create those relationships, and maybe at some point in time, you know, you're retweeting something that they might say, and then somewhere down the road they might do the same thing for you and get your share of voice out there a little bit more.
And you can just type in hashtags into the Twitter search box to see who's using them and get a quick overview. And then I also check Twitter trending topics and Google Plus trending topics on a regular basis throughout the day to see what people are actually talking about and what is trending. And most of the time there are hashtags associated with both of those.
Great. All right, let's take this question. This is kind of a long one, so I'll try to shorten it here. So Elena asks, is it better to build a blog as part of your site your URL, or use an outside platform like Tumblr? She's heard different opinions. Which one's better for SEO purposes and whatnot? Seems like there's two schools of thought. She's about to get started and worried about making the right decision.
I totally get that and understand where you're coming from, and I'm probably going to hit those two school of thoughts, and I don't want to push the answer back on you, but I think it is going to be a personal choice. I am of the mindset that you keep, especially for business, that you keep your blog on your website because it's a huge source of referral traffic, and that is how I execute it. Tumblr is great for virality, so if you want to post something and have it reach people really quick because you're new to it, great for that. What you might want to do is use a combination of both and have a link from your Tumblr site pointing back to your website or your blog. So I know it's a short answer, but I'm more of the website blog mindset.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that too. I mean, it just makes much more sense from, at least especially from an SEO side. Keep it all. I mean, you might build something, offsite, for maybe a particular event or a particular something or another from a personal standpoint. Sure, go build a Tumblr, but I would say when it comes to your blog and your content, keeping it on your URL is going to be your best bet.
Yep, absolutely agree.
What do you think about this one? Zach asks, how does Buffer compare to Hootsuite? So which do you like better in that regard?
It depends what you want to accomplish. So Hootsuite integrates with Google Plus, and Buffer does not, so that's a huge perk. I'm a creature of habit. I was switching from TweetDeck to Hootsuite, but I like the ability to make schedules for weekends, weekdays, and the way it's integrated with the mobile app as well. So mine's a preference for user experience, but if it's really important to have the Google Plus integration for you as well, Hootsuite might be more your thing. Buffer, you can't tweet from it, you can't post. Hootsuite is a bit more robust from a productivity standpoint, so you can create that. You can also monitor from Hootsuite hashtags and other key terms or people that you want to follow. So so technically I use both.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. I mean, I think it really just depends on what it is you want to get out of it. I mean, you can pay extra for Hootsuite a little bit, and you can upload a spreadsheet with 30 days worth of posts ready to go. That's more timed and more on target with your own content. So I use typically Buffer for content of other people's that I want to share throughout the day, and then I focus on utilizing a Buffer or a TweetDeck or whatever not a Buffer, a Hootsuite or a TweetDeck to schedule the now stuff, the thing that's happening at the moment, whether it be on our site or someplace else. Another question, this one's from Jeff. There was some discussion a while back that content from third-party posting applications, so such as Hootsuite and whatnot, were devalued or demoted in certain platforms. If he remembers correctly, primarily Facebook. Is that still the case with Facebook and their EdgeRank, I guess?
Yes. So I also heard that, and I belong to a private group of journalists, and this group also has the Journalism Contact app, Facebook, in it. And you can't always tell. I don't have a specific answer for this, but I got nervous when I read that, so I now post a lot of native content. It seems to do better. The EdgeRank, I mean, original content, native content on Facebook tends to perform better. I don't know that they've outright made a statement about it, but it works much better. Also, you can't tag people from using Buffer on Facebook, and when you can tag people, it also helps with visibility and EdgeRank. So posting information to Facebook really has more value if you can do it individually.
Great answer. Totally agree. Adriana asked a question. How do we find out the best times to post content? So what platforms are you using? I know you talked a little bit about
you can use Twiriad.com, but I also do a lot of manual checking for things. I check to see when, just myself, when links were getting a lot of clicks. If you're using Google Analytics or other resources and tools like that, you can do some manual research if you're not sure.
And another one, Adriana, that I happen to use too is a program called Social Bro. So that's one of the ones I use to kind of monitor and maintain and clean our Twitter lists as necessary, but also it allows us to go out and find communities and whatnot and let us know who we're following, who we're not interacting with. But one of the nice parts about it is that it does help you create a best time to tweet based on audience. So you could say, these are all my influencers, these are people in North America, South America, or whatever, however it is you want to build a Twitter list, and it will take a look at that and say, based on this information and the history of these users, this is the best time to tweet. With that being said, you're also able to export that data out to a product a product like Buffer app, which they're a partner company with them when it comes to API. So I would go ahead and definitely suggest taking a look at Social Bro as well.
Yes. And thank you for saying that. We are integrated with Buffer, but it's not why I keep talking about them. We were using them long before we integrated.
All right, so we're going to take a couple more questions here, and we want to make sure that we let Sarah head out of here. But I do have one, and this might be maybe one to get close to ending on, but this is from Kathy. She says, from a beginner on this level, where do you suggest that she starts? This all seems so overwhelming.
And it is, and I again totally understand. I think the planning stage is going to be most important. There are a lot of bright, shiny tools, a lot of services that I mentioned today. It's easy to get lost in them, but making that plan, identifying what project management or social collaboration tool you're going to use, because the process that you set up in order to execute this will determine how well you can do. So I think looking at identifying your tool first, and then making that plan of how often are you going to create content, how often is it going to be reactive versus proactive, how often are you going to designate between aggregation, curation, and original content, and pitching media, of course.
Totally agree. I'm just checking Twitter here to make sure that I didn't have any additional questions coming over there. Yes, we will go ahead and tweet the instructions to embedding a Vine. And we've also got another question come in. Is this going to be recorded? Absolutely. It's being recorded right now. If all goes well, it will be up a little bit later on this afternoon, so you can watch the webinar from the beginning, and you'll also be able to download the slide deck from SlideShare, and all the links that you see within SlideShare will be linkable as well. All right, I think I'm just making sure that there's anything that's relevant. Let's go. I really probably think that's probably about it. So I think we're going to leave it there. If there's any additional questions or whatnot, everybody is more than welcome to find me, email me, or even email Sarah and the Tracky team. One thing that we want to let everybody know about is, and this is probably going to be a great bookend to this webinar, because we were talking about how to create all this content. What kind of content is going to be the best thing to create? We've got our content strategist on staff here, Paul Sanders. He's a content guru, and he's going to be talking about the content marketing diet, cooking up your perfect strategy. So today we talked a little bit about the way you need to be scheduling, way you need to be thinking about scheduling, how to collaborate best. This webinar is going to help you select the types of content based on your budget and talent and resources, identifying the right target audience, and helping you to cultivate the talent for your content marketing machine. So to stay up to date with that, you can always check our website, SEO.com/webinars. That is where we list all of our current webinars that are upcoming, as well as all of our past ones that have been completed, and you can definitely catch a recording of those. The date is going to be May 30th. It's going to be on a Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Registration is going to be coming soon, first part of the week. So if you attended this webinar, you'll also get a thank you note from me saying come watch the replay, and then we'll also be sending out a webinar registration email first part of next week. Just making sure. Oh, we did have one more question come in. Okay, so I'm going to take that question offline, so I will definitely get back to everybody on that one. So other than that, I think we are good to go. Just want to let everybody know you can come over to SEO.com and get a free instant website report here on our website. Put in your domain, see what kicks out, and it'll help you get a couple ideas of what it is you need to do to help right away getting your website ranked better in the search engines. Again, I want to thank everybody for attending. My name is Doc. If you have any questions or comments, I'm going to leave this slide up for a few minutes as we end the recording. You can reach out to me any of these ways, and I'd be more than happy to help you further down the road. Sarah, I appreciate you so much for coming, and especially after the postponement and everything, I'm so glad you were able to make it today.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
And everybody, also, just so you know, I checked out Tracky. I've been playing with it a little bit. If you are looking for a tool, I just want to give them a quick shout out. I mean, I was on a demo and I've been playing with it all week. Head over to their site, and they have demos, I think, at least weekly, if not daily. You can correct me on that. But it's a killer platform, and I'm really excited on a personal level, some projects to start digging into it and start using the platform.
Well, thanks for the endorsement. And Jennifer Goss, our Chief Marketing Officer, amazing team member, does demos. She is phenomenal, and I'm sure she'll tweet out a link with the hashtag to register for a demo.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for coming. I'm going to go ahead and hit stop on the recording right now, and definitely looking forward to talking to you and seeing you on our next webinar.